You know, we talk all day, every day, but have you ever really stopped to think about the incredible, invisible rules we're all following? Today, we're going to dive into the hidden machinery of just a simple conversation, and I promise you it is way more surprising than you think.
So to get us started, I've got a question for you that, let's be honest, sounds completely ridiculous. How can a sandwich be a person? It sounds like total nonsense, right? But stick with me, because by the end of this, it's going to make perfect sense.
Because, believe it or not, this is a real sentence that someone might actually say, in a busy restaurant. And we would all get it, instantly. The real question is, how? What is going on in our brains that makes this bizarre sentence totally understandable? Well, let's investigate.
To solve this little mystery, we first need to get a handle on the two fundamental jobs in any conversation, what the speaker does and what the listener does.
Okay, first up is something called reference. This is the speaker's job, and it's based on a really cool idea. Words themselves don't point to things. People use words to point. Reference is that act of picking just the right words to help your listener figure out exactly what you're talking about.
And then, on the other side of that coin, we have inference. This is the listener's crucial role. It's all the mental detective work, connecting the dots, using the clues the speaker gives you to figure out what they really mean.
So here's the bottom line. Communication isn't just a broadcast. It's a partnership. A speaker refers and a listener infers. It's kind of like a collaborative dance. And for it to work, both partners have to be listening to the same music.
Okay, so we've got our basic tools, reference and inference. Now let's look at how we use names, because this is where things get really fun and surprisingly flexible.
For example, just picture one student asking another this question. Now, obviously they're not asking to borrow the actual 16th century playwright. That would be weird.
Our brains just make the leap instantly, right? We make that inference. We connect the producer Shakespeare to the product, a book. It's a mental shortcut we all take without even thinking about it.
And this works for all sorts of things. If you're walking through a museum and hear this, you know someone is talking about a painting, not the actual artist hanging on the wall. And this isn't just some rare, quirky thing. We do it constantly. We use Mozart's name to talk about his music, the Rolling Stones to talk about an album, or even the name Brazil to mean their national soccer team. It's a super powerful and efficient shortcut we all share.
Okay, you ready to push this idea even further? We can use this very same system of reference and inference to talk about things that aren't even real.
A sports scout could say this, and we'd understand them perfectly. Even though no such person exists, we can still refer to the idea of them. We just create this shared concept in our minds, just by using words. Pretty cool, huh? So, we have the speaker-listener partnership, and we've got our flexible use of names. But the biggest clue, the real key to solving our sandwich puzzle, is the environment. The scene of the crime, if you will. In other words, context.
First, there's the linguistic environment, which has a technical name, context. Basically, these are just the words surrounding a particular phrase, and they act like these powerful signposts, narrowing down all the possible meanings and guiding the listener's inference. And this slide illustrates the point perfectly. The phrase, the cheese sandwich, is exactly the same in both sentences. But just look at the words around it, the context. Is made with white bread forces us to see the sandwich as food, but left without paying, well, that forces us to see it as a person. The meaning is all in the surrounding clues.
But it's not just about the words. The physical world around us, the actual real-world context of the conversation, plays a huge role too. Our shared knowledge of a place gives us these incredible inferential superpowers. You hear the heart attack in a hospital, you know it's a patient. At the dentist's office, your 10:30 is clearly a person with an appointment. At a hotel, rooms can absolutely mean the guests staying in them. The context makes the true meaning obvious. Okay, we have gathered all the evidence, we've got reference, we've got inference, we've got those flexible names, and the incredible power of context. So now, let's put it all together and finally close this case.
Let's circle all the way back to our original question. We are now totally equipped to answer it, not as some silly riddle, but as a really fascinating linguistic process.
It's really just a three-step dance. First, the speaker, maybe a waiter, uses the cheese sandwich to refer to a customer. Second, the context, both the other words like he's sitting and the whole restaurant setting, provides all the necessary clues. And third, the listener uses those clues to infer the speaker's real meaning. It's simple, it's efficient, and it's kind of brilliant.
And that brings us to the big takeaway here. We've got to think beyond the dictionary. Language isn't just a set of static, boring definitions. Referring to something, it's a social act. It's a speaker putting their trust in a listener to collaborate, to meet them halfway, and figure out what they intend to say.
And that's really why this matters. Every single time we understand each other, especially when we're using these kinds of clever shortcuts, we're doing so much more than just exchanging data. We are actually confirming our shared knowledge, our shared context, and our social connection. It's the very glue of a community.
So the next time you're in a conversation, just pay a little attention. Listen for these shortcuts, these little acts of teamwork. It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? What other unspoken rules are you following every single time you talk?